My husband forgot to end the call, and I overheard a heartbreaking conversation with his family that changed everything. I wasn't just eavesdropping, I was hiding, breathing thin air against the wall in the dark, my fingers digging into the plaster while my phone trembled against my ear. The man I had promised forever to was in the next room, and his voice, which once calmed my every anxiety, now dripped with the venom of betrayal. I'm 30. Robert's 30. We'd been married for 5 years. We were the couple everyone envied: stable jobs, a beautiful house in the suburbs of Dallas-Fort Worth, quiet dinners where we actually talked instead of stared at our phones. My parents adored him. My friends kept saying how lucky I was to have found someone so steady, so reliable. I believed them. But over the past 6 months, something had shifted. Robert became distant, secretive, always on his phone, muttering about major business decisions and market volatility. I blamed his work stress. I blamed the economy. I even blamed my own history of anxiety, which Robert would gently remind me was responsible for my overreactions whenever I voiced concerns. "You're reading too much into it, Clara," he'd say, kissing my forehead. "I'm just under pressure. Everything's fine." I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. Looking back now, I realize I'd been ignoring the signs for months. The late-night calls he'd taken his car, the way he'd changed the password on his laptop, the sudden interest in getting our legal documents in order. He'd even suggested I see my therapist again, said it might help with my stress levels. At the time, I thought he was being caring. Now I know he was building a paper trail. The day of the call, an unsettling quiet had descended on the house. Robert had been pacing the living room for over an hour, whispering into his phone with an intensity I hadn't seen before. His shoulders were tense, his free hand clenching and unclenching. When he finally said, "Okay, talk to you later," I felt myself relax. Whatever crisis he'd been managing was over. He stood up and walked toward the stairs, heading to the study. I heard his footsteps creak on the 3rd step, then the 4th. The house settled back into silence. Then I heard it. Michael's voice, Robert's brother, loud, clear, and laced with panic, cutting through the quiet from the phone Robert had left on the coffee table. "Did you get the final transfer through? She can't know you're gone until you're already across the border." My blood turned to ice. Robert's voice came through the phone speaker, startlingly calm, almost detached. "Flights booked for tomorrow morning. One way. Everything's offshore now." I should have hung up. I should have confronted him right then. Instead, I stood frozen in the hallway, my back pressed against the wall, listening as my entire life disintegrated. "What about Clara?" Michael asked. "She's going to lose her mind when she finds out." Robert laughed, actually laughed. "It's all on her, mate. The house, the credit cards, everything. Let the banks chase her. By the time she figures it out, I'll be untouchable. And if she tries to fight back, she won't. I've been documenting her episodes for months. Her anxiety, her emotional reactions. I've got enough to make her look unstable if she tries anything legal. No one's going to believe the woman who needs medication to function over the husband who's been trying to help her." The phone slipped in my hand. My knuckles were white, gripping it so hard it hurt. Tears streamed down my face, but I couldn't make a sound. I couldn't breathe. This was the man I'd shared a bed with for 5 years. The man who'd held me during panic attacks. The man who knew every vulnerable part of me and had been weaponizing it. The conversation continued, but I'd heard enough. I silently ended the call on my end and stood there in the dark hallway, my heart hammering so loud I was certain Robert would hear it from upstairs. I heard the study door open, footsteps on the landing. He was coming back down. I flattened myself against the wall, shrinking into the shadows as Robert descended the stairs. He walked into the kitchen just 10 feet from where I was hiding and poured himself a glass of water. Casual, calm, like he hadn't just destroyed me. He paused, glass halfway to his lips, and turned toward the hallway, toward me. My breath caught. Could he see me? Did he know? For one terrifying moment, our eyes nearly met in the darkness. Then he shrugged, drained the water, and headed back upstairs. The moment I heard the study door close, I moved. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely unlock my phone, but I managed to pull up my sister Sarah's number. I couldn't call, couldn't risk him hearing my voice, so I did the only thing I could think of. I sent 3 numbers, 911. Then I added, "Upstairs, don't call, he's here." Sarah and I had established this code years ago, back when I'd first started dating Robert, and she'd insisted on having an emergency protocol. "Just in case," she'd said. I'd laughed it off then. I wasn't laughing now. My phone buzzed. Sarah's response: "On my way. Calling police. Stay hidden." I slipped into the mudroom and locked the door as quietly as I could. Then I waited, pressed against the wall in the dark, listening for sirens, praying they'd come before Robert realized what I'd heard. Because now I knew the truth. My husband wasn't just leaving me. He was framing me, bankrupting me, and planning to make sure I'd be too broken to fight back. And I had less than 12 hours to stop him. If you enjoy stories of shocking family secrets, hidden betrayals, and the cold-blooded truth like this one, like this video and kindly subscribe to the channel now. There are brand new stories here every day that you will enjoy, each one more intense than the last one. And tell me where you are watching from. I like to know how far my story has traveled. The mudroom was pitch black. I'd locked myself inside without turning on the light, terrified that even a sliver of illumination would give away my position. My back pressed against the door, phone clutched to my chest. I could hear my heartbeat thundering in my ears. Upstairs, Robert's footsteps moved across the study floor, the familiar creak of his desk chair. He was settling in, probably reviewing whatever documents he needed for his escape tomorrow. Tomorrow. Less than 12 hours away. My phone screen lit up with another text from Sarah. 15 minutes out. Police dispatched. Do not engage. Stay hidden. 15 minutes felt like a lifetime. I tried to steady my breathing, but my mind kept replaying the conversation. The casual cruelty in Robert's voice, the way he'd laughed when discussing my ruin. But it was the details that made my stomach turn, the documentation, the lawyer, the systematic planning. He hadn't just decided to leave. He'd been orchestrating this for months. How long had I been living with a stranger? How many times had he looked into my eyes and lied? How many of those concerned conversations about my anxiety had actually been him gathering ammunition? A notification popped up on my phone, a banking alert. I'd set up notifications months ago, during one of my paranoid phases, as Robert had called them. My hands trembled as I opened it. Transfer of $47,000 from joint savings to external account. My breath caught. I quickly opened the banking app, my fingers fumbling with the password. When the screen loaded, I felt the floor drop out from under me. Joint checking. $247.83. Joint savings. 0. Emergency fund. 0. Everything was gone. Years of savings, our emergency fund, the money we'd been putting aside for. I heard footsteps on the stairs again. Robert was coming back down. I pressed myself tighter against the door, willing myself invisible. Through the crack beneath the door, I could see the kitchen light flip on, the sound of cabinets opening. He was looking for something. "Where did I put that file?" I heard him mutter. More cabinets. Drawers sliding open and shut. Then his footsteps moved toward the hallway, toward the mudroom. My heart stopped. The doorknob rattled. Once, twice. "Clara?" Robert's voice was right outside the door. Concerned. Gentle. The voice of the man I'd thought I married. "Honey, are you in there? Why is this door locked?" I couldn't breathe, couldn't move, couldn't make a sound. "Clara, you're scaring me. Are you okay?" Open the door. Every instinct screamed at me to answer, to explain, to confront him. But Sarah's text flashed in my mind. Do not engage. I know you're having one of your episodes, Robert continued, his voice taking on that patronizing tone I'd grown to hate. I understand you're stressed. Just open the door and we can talk about it. I'm worried about you. One of my episodes. He was already setting the stage, already spinning the narrative. Even now, even when he thought I was having a breakdown, he was performing. Clara, I'm going to call Dr. Reynolds if you don't answer me. You know, she said, you need to communicate when you're feeling overwhelmed. Dr. Reynolds, my therapist, the one Robert had encouraged me to see more frequently, had he been feeding her information too, building his case even there? My phone buzzed silently in my hand. Sarah, 8 minutes, hold on. Okay, Robert said, and I heard him step back from the door. I'm giving you space, but I'm calling the doctor. This isn't healthy, Clara. I heard him walk away, back toward the kitchen, the sound of him dialing, his voice, lower now, speaking to someone. Yes, this is Robert Vaughn, calling about my wife, Clara. Yes, I know it's late, but I'm concerned. She's locked herself in a room and won't respond. No history of this specific behavior, but she's been very anxious lately. Yes, I understand. Thank you. He was calling my therapist at 11 o'clock at night, creating another data point in his carefully constructed narrative of my instability. I wanted to scream. Instead, I pulled up my phone's voice recorder and hit record. If he said anything else, anything at all that revealed his true intentions, I needed it documented. Clara? Robert was back at the door. Dr. Reynolds' service is going to have her call me back. She's concerned about you. We both are. Silence. I love you, you know that. Whatever's going on, we can work through it together, just like we always do. The lies came so easily to him, so smoothly. How many times had he said he loved me while planning my destruction? Then I heard it, the distant wail of sirens. Robert heard it too. His footsteps moved away from the mudroom door quickly, toward the front of the house. I heard the living room blinds rattle as he looked out. Shit, he muttered. The sirens grew louder, closer. Shit, shit, shit. His footsteps pounded through the house upstairs. Rapid movement, drawers slamming. He was scrambling. The careful, composed Robert was gone, replaced by panic. I heard him running back downstairs, the sound of papers shuffling frantically in the kitchen. The sirens stopped, car doors slamming, voices outside, a knock at the front door. Firm, official, police. We received a wellness check call about this address. Robert's voice, when he answered, was perfectly modulated concern. Officers, thank goodness you're here. It's my wife, she's having some kind of episode. She's locked herself in a room and won't respond to me. Sir, we're going to need you to step outside. Of course. But please, she needs help. She has anxiety issues, and I'm worried. Sir, step outside, now. I heard the firmness in the officer's voice. Sarah must have told them something that made them cautious. Heavy footsteps entered the house. Multiple officers. Ma'am, this is the police. We're here to help. Can you tell us where you are? I unlocked the mudroom door with shaking hands and opened it. 2 officers stood in the hallway, hands resting casually near their belts. A woman, maybe mid-40s, with kind eyes, and a younger man with a military bearing. I'm here, I managed, my voice barely a whisper. Are you Clara Vaughn? I nodded. Are you hurt? Are you in any immediate danger? I shook my head, then paused. Was I in danger? Robert hadn't threatened me physically, but the danger was real, nonetheless. I overheard something. My husband, he's planning to leave the country tomorrow. He's taken all our money. He's been... The female officer held up a hand gently. Let's get you somewhere safe first, and then you can tell us everything. Can you walk? Yes. She guided me toward the front door. Through the living room window, I could see Robert on the front lawn, talking animatedly to another officer. When he saw me emerge with the police, His expression shifted concern, relief, a touch of exasperation. The performance continued. Clara, thank God. I was so worried about you. The female officer, her name tag read, Martinez, positioned herself between us. Sir, we need you to stay back while we assess the situation. A familiar car screeched to a stop at the curb. Sarah burst out, running toward me. Clara! She wrapped me in her arms, and I finally let myself break. Sobs racked my body as I clung to my sister. I've got you, Sarah whispered. You're safe now. I've got you. Officer Martinez gave us space, but stayed close. Ma'am, your sister called in a wellness check. She was concerned you were in distress and unable to leave safely. My wife has anxiety, Robert called out, trying to approach. This happens sometimes. She gets overwhelmed and, Mr. Vaughn, please step back, the other officer said firmly. Sarah pulled away from me slightly, her eyes searching mine. Did you get it? The evidence? I nodded, pulling out my phone. The call. It's in my phone records, and I just got a banking alert. He transferred everything tonight. Sarah's eyes hardened. Show the officers. Officer Martinez led Sarah and me to her patrol car, away from Robert's earshot. I pulled up my phone, hands still trembling, and showed her the banking alerts. He emptied our accounts, I said, my voice steadier now that I was away from him. Everything. Tonight, while he was upstairs, he transferred over $47,000. Martinez's expression remained neutral, but I saw something shift in her eyes. And you mentioned overhearing a conversation? He called me tonight. We talked, said goodnight, but he didn't hang up. The line stayed connected. I heard him talking to his brother about leaving the country tomorrow morning, about how he's been documenting my anxiety to make me look unstable, about letting the banks chase me for his debts. The officer exchanged a glance with her partner, who'd moved closer. Do you have proof of this conversation? My phone records will show the call duration. It'll show we hung up, but the line stayed connected for, I checked my call log, 17 minutes after. Sarah squeezed my hand. I called someone else too, a lawyer. He's on his way. A lawyer? Martinez raised an eyebrow. Gideon Morris, Sarah said. He's the best family law attorney in the state. I woke him up and explained the situation. He said to get Clara somewhere safe and not to let her speak to Robert without counsel present. Martinez nodded slowly. Smart. Mr. Vaughn keeps insisting this is a mental health crisis, but it's not, I interrupted. He wants everyone to think that. He's been setting this up for months, getting me to see my therapist more, asking my friends if I seemed stressed, mentioning my anxiety to anyone who'd listen. He was building a case. A case for what? So that when I discovered what he'd done, no one would believe me. Officer Martinez studied me for a long moment. I could see her making calculations, assessing my credibility. You seem very coherent for someone having a mental health crisis. Because I'm not having one. I'm having a very rational response to discovering my husband is a fraud and a thief. Her partner leaned in. Martinez, Vaughn's getting agitated. Keeps asking when he can take his wife home. He's not taking me anywhere, I said firmly. I want to press charges for financial fraud. And I want a restraining order. That's not something we can do tonight, Martinez said gently. But we can make sure you get somewhere safe. Do you have somewhere to go? She's staying with me, Sarah said immediately. Martinez nodded. Mr. Vaughn can't stop you from leaving. You're not under arrest, and you're an adult capable of making your own decisions. But I need to be honest with you what you're describing, the financial stuff. That's civil, not criminal. We can't arrest him for emptying a joint bank account. My stomach dropped. So he gets away with it? I didn't say that. I said we can't arrest him tonight. But you can file a civil complaint, and your lawyer can help with that. She paused. However, if he's planning to flee the country, that changes things. Do you have any proof of that? Flight records? Passport? Anything? I thought frantically. His suitcase. It's probably in the study. And his passport, he keeps it in the top drawer of his desk. Martinez looked at her partner. Chen, go ask Mr. Vaughn if we can do a quick sweep of the residence. Wellness check protocol. See if there's anything that supports a flight risk. Officer Chen nodded and headed toward Robert. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. I looked at Sarah, who nodded. I answered, stepping away from Martinez. Hello? Clara Vaughn. A man's voice, deep and commanding. Yes? This is Gideon Morris. Your sister briefed me. Where are you right now? Outside my house. With the police. Good. Listen carefully. Do not make any statements to the police about the financial situation without me present. Do not sign anything. Do not agree to anything. Are you hurt? No. Are you safe? Yes. My sister's here. Excellent. I'm 40 minutes out. I want you and Sarah to go directly to her house. Do not go back inside your house. Do not take anything that isn't immediately necessary. Do you understand? But I need my... Nothing is more important than getting you away from that house and your husband right now. We can retrieve your belongings later with a police escort. Right now, your husband is in panic mode. And panic makes people dangerous. I glanced toward Robert, who was gesturing animatedly at Officer Chen. Even from here, I could see the desperation creeping into his performance. Okay, I said. When you get to Sarah's, I need you to write down everything you remember from that phone call. Exact quotes, timestamps, everything. Can you do that? Yes. And Clara? Don't call him. Don't text him. Don't respond to anything he sends you. From this moment forward, all communication goes through me. Understood? Understood. Good. I'll meet you at Sarah's in 40 minutes. Stay strong. We're going to fix this. He hung up. Sarah raised her eyebrows. Well? He says we leave. Now. Don't take anything. Officer Chen was walking back toward us, and behind him, I could see Robert trying to follow. Another officer stopped him. Your husband has consented to a quick sweep, Chen said. He claims he's not going anywhere, says you're confused. But Martinez is checking the study now. We waited. Each second felt like an hour. Robert kept calling out to me, his voice carrying across the lawn. Clara, please, talk to me. Let me help you. I love you. The words that once would have melted my defenses now just made me feel sick. Martinez emerged from the house, her expression carefully neutral, but she walked straight to her partner and murmured something in his ear. Chen's eyebrows rose. Martinez approached us. There's a packed suitcase in the study. Men's clothing, toiletries, passport, and what appears to be a one-way ticket to the Cayman Islands, departing at 6 a.m. tomorrow from DFW. Sarah's hand tightened on mine. The Cayman Islands, I repeated numbly. We're going to have a conversation with Mr. Vaughn about his travel plans, Martinez said. In the meantime, I think it's best if you and your sister leave. You have somewhere safe to go? Yes. Good. Go now, while we're talking to him. And Clara? Martinez handed me her card. Your lawyer will probably tell you this too, but document everything. Every text, every call, every transaction. You're going to need it. Sarah was already pulling me toward her car. I looked back once and saw Robert's face as Officer Martinez showed him something on her phone, probably a photo of the suitcase, the ticket. His mask of concern slipped for just a moment, and I saw naked fury. Then Sarah pulled me into the car, and we were driving away. I watched my house, our house, disappear in the side mirror. 5 years of marriage, gone in one overheard conversation. You did the right thing, Sarah said quietly. I wasn't sure about that yet, but I knew I'd done the only thing I could. My phone started buzzing. Robert calling. I let it go to voicemail. Immediately, a text. Clara, please. I can explain everything. You're not thinking clearly. Come home and we'll talk. Another text. I love you. Whatever you think you heard, you misunderstood. I would never hurt you. Another. Please don't do this. Think about what this will do to us. I turned my phone face down and stared out the window at the dark streets passing by. Sarah glanced at me. Talk to me. Are you okay? He had a ticket, I said. 6 a.m. He was really going to do it. I know. And if I hadn't heard that conversation, if he'd just hung up his phone properly, I would have woken up tomorrow and he'd be gone. Everything would be gone. And everyone would have believed I was just having an anxiety attack. But you did hear it. And he's not gone. And we're going to make sure he pays for every single thing he's done. We pulled into Sarah's driveway 25 minutes later. Her house was a small craftsman in an older neighborhood, the porch light glowing, warm and welcoming. She'd bought it 2 years ago after her divorce. Rebuilt her life here. Come on, she said gently. Let's get you inside. Sarah's guest room smelled like lavender and fresh linens. She'd made up the bed while I washed my face, trying to scrub away the past 2 hours. But when I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back. Her eyes were red-rimmed and wild. Her hair was a mess. She looked exactly like someone having a breakdown. Robert would love that. I found Sarah in the kitchen, brewing coffee, even though it was nearly midnight. She handed me a mug without a word. Gideon will be here in 10 minutes, she said, checking her phone. I gave him the address. How do you know him? Remember my divorce? I nodded. Sarah's ex-husband had tried to hide assets, claimed she'd been unfaithful, dragged her through hell for 18 months. Gideon destroyed him, Sarah said with grim satisfaction. Took apart every lie, found every hidden account, made sure I got exactly what I deserved. He's ruthless, Clara. He's exactly what you need right now. My phone buzzed again. More texts from Robert. The police are asking questions about my travel. Did you tell them something? Clara, this is serious. I can't believe you'd do this to me. To us. Fine. If you won't answer, I'm coming to Sarah's. We need to talk. I showed Sarah the last message. Her jaw clenched. He doesn't know where I live, she said. I moved after the divorce. And I never gave him my address. He could look it up. Let him try. I've got cameras and an alarm system. And Gideon will be here any minute. As if summoned, headlights swept across the front windows. A sleek black Mercedes pulled into the driveway. The man who emerged was not what I expected. Gideon Morris was maybe 55, with silver hair and sharp features. He wore slacks and a button-down despite the late hour, and carried a leather briefcase that looked expensive. Everything about him screamed competence and control. Sarah opened the door before he could knock. Mr. Morris? Sarah, good to see you again, though I wish it were under better circumstances. His eyes shifted to me. You must be Clara. I nodded, suddenly feeling very small in my wrinkled clothes with my tear-stained face. He stepped inside and got right to business. Tell me everything. Start from the beginning of that phone call and don't leave anything out. We sat at Sarah's kitchen table, and I told him every word I could remember from Robert's conversation with Michael, the banking alerts, the suitcase, the ticket to the Cayman Islands. Gideon took notes on a yellow legal pad, his pen moving in swift, precise strokes. He didn't interrupt, didn't ask clarifying questions, just let me talk. When I finished, he set down his pen and looked at me with eyes that had seen 1,000 cases like mine. Okay, he said, here's what we're dealing with. Your husband has committed multiple felonies, wire fraud, likely money laundering if he's moving assets offshore, possibly identity theft, depending on how he accessed certain accounts. The civil issues are almost secondary at this point. Can we stop him from leaving? The police already have. When they found that ticket and passport, they would have made it very clear that leaving the jurisdiction right now would be a terrible idea. He's probably being advised to stay put and lawyer up. He paused. Has he tried to contact you? I showed him my phone. The string of increasingly desperate texts. Gideon's expression darkened. This is good for us. He's panicking, making mistakes. But Clara, you cannot respond. Not one word. Everything he sends you is evidence of his state of mind. What about the money? Can we get it back? We're going to try. First thing tomorrow morning, I'm filing an emergency motion to freeze all accounts, joint and individual. I'm also going to petition for a temporary restraining order, preventing him from liquidating, hiding, or transferring any additional assets. Will it work? If I can prove he's a flight risk, and that he's actively trying to defraud you, yes, and the ticket to the Cayman Islands helps immensely. He flipped through his notes. You said the call stayed connected for 17 minutes? Yes, maybe longer. I didn't check the exact time when I finally hung up. We need those phone records. I'll subpoena them first thing tomorrow. That recording, even if it's just metadata showing the duration of the call, is crucial. It proves you had the opportunity to overhear what you claim you overheard. Sarah refilled our coffee mugs. What about the fact that he's been documenting her anxiety, using it to build this narrative that she's unstable? That actually works in our favor, Gideon said. It shows premeditation. He wasn't just making a rash decision to leave. He was systematically building a defense for when she discovered his fraud. That's calculated, sophisticated criminal behavior. The courts don't look kindly on that. I felt something loosen in my chest. Someone believed me. Someone saw through Robert's performance. Now, Gideon continued, I need you to write down everything you remember about his behavior over the past 6 months. Every time he encouraged you to see your therapist. Every time he mentioned your anxiety to friends or family. Every conversation where he suggested you were overreacting or stressed. I want dates, if you can remember them, and names of anyone who was present. He slid the legal pad and pen across the table to me. Tonight? Tonight, while it's fresh. Memory fades, and details get fuzzy. Right now, you're running on adrenaline and fear, and paradoxically, that makes you remember things more clearly. I took the pen. My hand was steadier than I expected. One more thing, Gideon said. Tomorrow, we're going to court. I'm filing for an emergency hearing on the asset freeze and restraining order. Robert will be there with his lawyer. You need to be prepared for him to paint you as unstable, irrational, vindictive. He's going to use every weapon he has. I know. Do you? His eyes were kind but firm. Because he's going to look at you the way he looked at you on your wedding day. He's going to use that voice you fell in love with. He's going to say he's worried about you, that he loves you, that this is all a misunderstanding, and you need to be ready to see through it. I thought about the texts still coming through on my phone, the performance he'd given for the police, the way he'd built an entire false narrative of our life together. I'm ready, I said. Gideon nodded. Good. Then let's destroy him. I spent the next 3 hours writing. Every incident, every conversation, every tiny manipulation I'd dismissed as concern. The time Robert had told my best friend Vera that I'd been really stressed lately and asked if she'd noticed any concerning behavior. The way he'd casually mentioned to my parents that I'd started therapy again. The suspicious concern in his eyes when I'd questioned a strange charge on our credit card. It had all been theater. Every single moment. By 3 a.m., I had 6 pages of single-spaced documentation. Gideon reviewed it, making occasional notes in the margins. This is excellent, he said. This shows a pattern of behavior that's going to be very difficult for him to explain away. My phone buzzed again. I'd turned off notifications, but I could see the screen lighting up with new messages. 15 texts in the past hour, Sarah observed. He's spiraling, Gideon stood. I'm going back to my office to start drafting the motions. I'll file them electronically at 8 a.m. when the courthouse system opens. The hearing will probably be tomorrow afternoon or the day after. In the meantime, Clara, you stay here. Don't go home. Don't go to work. Don't go anywhere Robert might look for you. What about my job? Call in sick. Or better yet, have Sarah call. You're dealing with a family emergency. They don't need details. He gathered his briefcase and headed for the door, then paused. One last thing. Robert is going to try to convince people you're having a breakdown. He's probably already calling your friends, your family, his family. He's going to tell them you've lost it, that you've made wild accusations, that he's worried about your safety. So what do I do? Nothing. Let him talk. Every lie he tells is another nail in his coffin. Just make sure you document who he contacts and what he says to them. He handed me his card. If anyone reaches out to you with concerns about your mental health, you tell them to call me. I'll handle it. After he left, Sarah and I sat in silence for a moment. You should try to sleep, she finally said. I can't. I know. But try anyway. I lay in the guest bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to my phone buzz with Robert's increasingly frantic messages. Each one was a reminder of how close I'd come to losing everything. How close I'd come to waking up tomorrow morning alone and ruined, while everyone believed I'd driven my husband away with my unstable behavior. But I hadn't lost everything. Not yet. And tomorrow, the real fight would begin. I didn't sleep. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Robert's face, the mask of concern he'd worn for the police. The cold calculation in his voice when he'd spoken to Michael. Around 4 a.m., I gave up and moved to Sarah's living room, curling up on the couch with my phone. The texts had finally stopped around 3:30. Robert's last message read, I know you're scared and confused. When you're ready to talk, I'll be here. I love you, Clara. I'll always love you. The performance never ended with him. Sarah found me there at 6 a.m., still awake, staring at nothing. Coffee? She offered. Please. She brought 2 mugs and sat beside me. Gideon texted. He's been working all night. The motions are ready to file at 8. What happens then? Then we wait for the court to schedule a hearing. Could be today. Could be tomorrow. Emergency motions usually get priority. She paused. How are you holding up? I laughed, but it came out bitter. I'm about to accuse my husband of fraud and theft in open court. He's going to tell everyone I'm crazy, and the worst part is, some of them will believe him. Let them. The truth has a way of coming out. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Clara Vaughn? Yes? This is Detective Ramirez, with the DFW Financial Crimes Unit. I understand you filed a complaint last night regarding financial fraud. Do you have a few minutes to talk? I sat up straighter. Yes, of course. I've been reviewing the initial report from Officer Martinez. She mentioned your husband had a one-way ticket to the Cayman Islands, and that you discovered unauthorized transfers from your joint accounts. Is that correct? Yes. He emptied everything. Over $47,000. And you mentioned overhearing a conversation where he discussed these transfers? Yes. He was on the phone with his brother. The call didn't disconnect properly on his end. I heard everything. Detective Ramirez was quiet for a moment. Mrs. Vaughn, I want to be transparent with you. Married couples emptying joint accounts before a divorce is unfortunately common, and it's usually a civil matter. However, wire fraud and international money laundering are criminal. If your husband was planning to flee the country with marital assets and leave you with his debts, that changes the nature of this case. He is. I heard him say it. I'm going to need documentation. Bank records, phone records, anything that supports your claim. Do you have an attorney? Gideon Morris. Good. Morris is a shark. Have him send me everything he's compiled. I'm opening an investigation, but I need evidence to move forward. After I hung up, Sarah was staring at me with wide eyes. Financial Crimes is investigating? They're opening a case. Clara, that's huge. If they find evidence of criminal activity, When they find evidence, I corrected. Because it's all there. Every transfer, every conversation, every lie. At exactly 8 a.m., my phone pinged with an email from Gideon. Motions filed. Hearing scheduled for tomorrow, 2 p.m. Judge Northfield presiding. Stay calm, stay silent, and let me handle Robert. Judge Northfield. I googled the name quickly. 72 years old, appointed to the bench 30 years ago, known for being no-nonsense and intolerant of perjury. In one article, he was quoted saying, "The quickest way to lose in my courtroom is to lie. I can smell dishonesty from the bench." Good. Let him smell Robert. By 9 a.m., Gideon's office had sent over a mountain of documentation. His paralegal, a sharp-eyed woman named Monica, had worked through the night pulling financial records. Sarah and I sat at her kitchen table, reviewing what they'd found. The systematic liquidation had started 6 months ago. Small transfers at first $500 here, $1,000 there, then larger amounts, $5,000, $10,000. All moved to an account I'd never seen before, registered in Robert's name alone at a bank in the Cayman Islands. "He's been planning this for half a year," I whispered. Sarah's jaw was tight. "He's a sociopath." The bank records showed something else too, debts I knew nothing about. Credit cards, maxed out in both our names. A personal loan for $30,000 that Robert had taken out 3 months ago, using our house as collateral. "I never signed for this," I said, pointing to the loan documents. "Look at the signature," Sarah said. I looked closer. It was my signature, or a very good forgery. He forged my name. That's identity theft. That's federal. My phone rang again. This time it was my mother. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the answer button. "Don't," Sarah said. Gideon said no contact. "It's my mother. I know. But she's going to ask questions, and anything you say could get back to Robert." I let it go to voicemail. Immediately, a text came through. "Clara, honey, Robert called us. He's very worried about you. He says you're not yourself. Please call me back. Let us help you." Then my father. "Your mother and I are concerned. Robert says you've been having episodes. We think you should come home and let us take care of you." Episodes. The word made my stomach turn. Another text, this time from Robert's mother, Margaret. "Dear Clara, Robert told us what happened. We're so sorry you're going through this difficult time. Please know we're here for you. Robert loves you so much and just wants you to get the help you need." I showed Sarah the messages. Her face hardened. "He's poisoning everyone against you, making you look unstable before you can tell your side. What do I do?" Exactly what Gideon said. Nothing. Document it all, but don't respond. More messages came throughout the morning. Robert's brother, Michael. "Hey Clara, Rob's really torn up. Whatever's going on, I'm sure you guys can work it out. He's a good guy. Give him a chance." My best friend Vera. "Clara?" Robert called me crying. "He says you left in the middle of the night and won't tell him where you are. Are you safe? Please call me." Each message was a knife. These were people I loved, people I trusted, and Robert had gotten to them first. Only Vera deserved a response. I texted her, "I'm safe. I'll explain everything soon. Please don't believe anything Robert tells you." She called immediately. I answered, "Clara, what the hell is going on?" Robert sounded devastated. "He said you had some kind of breakdown and the police were called." "Vera, I need you to listen to me. Really listen. Robert has been planning to leave me. He's been emptying our bank accounts and moving money offshore. He has a ticket to the Cayman Islands. He was going to disappear and leave me with all his debts." Silence. I heard him, Vera. He didn't know I was listening, but I heard him admit everything to his brother. Clara, that's insane." "I know. That's why he's trying to make everyone think I'm the one who's lost it. So when I tell the truth, no one will believe me." "I believe you." Her voice was firm. I've never heard you sound this clear, this certain. What do you need? The relief almost made me cry. I need you to be a witness. Robert called you, right? Asking about my mental state? Yeah, about 2 weeks ago. He said you'd been really stressed and asked if I'd noticed you acting different. He was building a case, making it look like I was unstable. Can you write down exactly what he said? And when? Of course, Clara, I'm so sorry. I should have questioned it. How could you have known? After we hung up, Gideon called. I just spoke with Detective Ramirez, he said. Financial crimes is moving fast. They've subpoenaed Robert's bank records, both domestic and international. They found the Cayman Islands account. That's good, right? That's very good. It corroborates your story. It also means Robert is now under criminal investigation. He paused. I also got your medical records from Dr. Reynolds. My stomach clenched. And Robert kept a file. Your therapist sent me copies of every session note, every screening, every prescription. Clara, there's nothing here that suggests instability. Your anxiety scores are all within normal ranges. You're on a low-dose SSRI that millions of people take. The most damning thing in your file is a note from 6 months ago where Dr. Reynolds wrote, patient reports husband has been encouraging her to increase therapy frequency. Patient unsure why, as she feels she's managing well. He was manipulating even that. Yes, and it's going to backfire spectacularly. I'm introducing these records at the hearing tomorrow. They prove you're not suffering from any kind of psychosis or instability. They also prove Robert has been coaching you toward a narrative of mental illness. What about the file he kept? The documentation he mentioned to Michael? I'm betting it's cherry-picked incidents taken out of context. A bad day, a stressful moment. Things any normal person experiences. When we put it next to your actual medical records, it'll look like exactly what it is, manufactured evidence. That afternoon, more messages arrived, this time from Robert's parents. His father, Thomas. Clara, we've always thought of you as a daughter. Please let us help you through this. Robert is beside himself with worry. His mother again. We've arranged for a therapist to see you. Dr. Whitmore is very good with these kinds of episodes. Robert can bring you to the appointment tomorrow. The audacity was breathtaking. They were trying to get me committed. I forwarded everything to Gideon. His response was immediate. Do not respond. This is witness tampering and intimidation. Forwarding to Detective Ramirez. By evening, I'd received 27 messages from various people in my life, all expressing concern for my mental health, all echoing Robert's narrative. Only 3 people had reached out to ask if I was okay without mentioning my supposed breakdown. Vera, Sarah, and my cousin David, who'd never liked Robert anyway. He's isolating you, Sarah said as we ate takeout neither of us had an appetite for. Classic abuser tactic. Make the victim look crazy so no one believes them when they ask for help. It's working. No, it's not. You have me. You have Vera. You have David. And most importantly, you have evidence. Tomorrow, when we walk into that courtroom, we're going to have bank records, phone records, medical records, irrefutable proof that you're telling the truth. What if the judge believes him anyway? Judge Northfield has been on the bench for 30 years. He's seen every trick, every lie, every manipulation. Robert thinks he's smart, but he's playing against professionals now, and they're going to eat him alive. At 7 a.m. the next morning, Gideon's paralegal Monica sent an email with an attachment. Robert's response filing. Prepare yourself. I opened it with shaking hands. Affidavit of Robert James Vaughn. In the matter of emergency motion for asset freeze and restraining order. I felt sick before I even started reading. Robert's affidavit was 12 pages long. 12 pages of carefully constructed lies. My wife, Clara Vaughn, has suffered from severe anxiety and depression for the entirety of our marriage. Over the past 6 months, her condition has deteriorated significantly. Clara has exhibited increasingly paranoid behavior, including accusations that I am hiding things from her, that I am plotting against her, and that I am trying to control her through financial means. On multiple occasions, Clara has expressed delusional beliefs, including the belief that I have been documenting her behavior for nefarious purposes, when in reality, I have been keeping notes at the suggestion of her therapist to help track her mood patterns. Every line was a perversion of the truth. Clara has stopped eating regularly. She has lost approximately 15 pounds over the past 2 months. When I express concern, she becomes defensive and accuses me of monitoring her. I had lost weight because I'd been stressed, because I'd sensed something was wrong even if I couldn't name it, and now he was using it against me. 3 weeks ago, Clara became convinced that I was having an affair. She went through my phone, my computer, my briefcase. When she found nothing, she accused me of hiding it better. I had gone through his things once because he'd been so secretive, and I'd found nothing because he'd been hiding money, not another woman. On the night of November 14th, I spoke to my brother Michael about my concerns for Clara's well-being. We discussed the possibility that Clara might need more intensive psychiatric care. This was a private, painful conversation that I never intended for Clara to hear. When I discovered Clara had overheard portions of this conversation taken out of context, she fled our home in the middle of the night. She would not respond to my calls or texts. The police were called when I couldn't locate her and feared for her safety. I am terrified that Clara, in her current mental state, will harm herself or make decisions that will have long-term negative consequences for her health and our marriage. The lies kept coming. Clara has accused me of stealing our money. In reality, I have been liquidating assets to pay for her increasing medical expenses and to prepare for the possibility that she may need residential psychiatric treatment. The trip to the Cayman Islands was planned as a therapeutic vacation, recommended by her therapist, to help Clara relax and recover. I never intended to flee or abandon her. I wanted to take her with me, to help her heal. I am requesting that the court order a psychiatric evaluation for Clara before making any decisions regarding our marital assets. I believe she is not in a sound state of mind to make financial or legal decisions at this time. I couldn't read anymore. I dropped my phone and ran to the bathroom, where I threw up the coffee I'd managed to drink that morning. Sarah was there immediately, holding my hair back, rubbing my back. "He's lying," I gasped between heaves. "Every single word is a lie. I know. He's trying to get me committed. He wants a court-ordered psychiatric evaluation, which you'll pass with flying colors, and then he'll look like the liar he is. But what if I didn't pass? What if the evaluator believed Robert? What if my genuine fear and stress were interpreted as mental illness?" I called Gideon. "You read it," he said. "It wasn't a question. He's claiming I'm delusional. He's trying to get me committed. Clara, breathe. Listen to me. This affidavit is the best thing that could have happened. How is this good? Because he's overplayed his hand. He's made specific, concrete claims that we can definitively disprove. He says you've lost 15 pounds from not eating. We'll get your medical records showing your weight has been stable. He says you're paranoid and delusional. We have your therapist's notes saying you're managing well. He says the Cayman Islands trip was therapeutic. We have his ticket one way, one passenger, leaving at 6 a.m. without telling you. What about the psychiatric evaluation? We'll agree to it. Enthusiastically, you'll be evaluated by a court-appointed psychiatrist, not someone Robert has primed. And when you pass, which you will, it will destroy his entire narrative. Gideon, I'm scared. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. But Clara, I need you to trust me. I've read his affidavit 3 times. It's desperate. It's sloppy. And it's going to fall apart the moment I start asking questions. After we hung up, I forced myself to read the rest of Robert's filing. He'd attached supporting documents, text messages I'd sent him over the past months, taken out of context. "Where are you? You said you'd be home an hour ago." Robert's note. Evidence of paranoid monitoring. "Did you move money from savings? There's $2,000 missing." Robert's note. Delusional fixation on finances. "I feel like you're hiding something from me." Robert's note. Paranoid accusations without basis. Every normal concern a wife might have about her husband's behavior had been cataloged and weaponized. He'd also included character references. His parents, both stating they'd noticed my deteriorating mental state. His brother Michael, expressing concern for my well-being. 3 of his co-workers, all saying Robert had confided in them about his troubled marriage and his wife's emotional instability. And then, the final blow. A letter from Dr. Whitmore, the psychiatrist Robert's parents had mentioned, stating that based on what Robert had described, I was exhibiting symptoms consistent with several disorders and recommending immediate evaluation. A doctor had written a recommendation without ever meeting me, based solely on Robert's lies. Sarah found me on the couch an hour later, the affidavit still open on my phone, tears streaming down my face. "He's going to win," I whispered. "Look at all this. His parents, his brother, his co-workers, a doctor. They're all saying I'm crazy. They're all saying what Robert told them to say. There's a difference. How do we prove that?" We let Gideon do his job. At 11 a.m., Gideon called a video conference. His face filled my laptop screen, and I could see Monica in the background, surrounded by stacks of documents. "All right," he said. "Let's talk strategy. The hearing is in 3 hours. Robert's attorney, Thomas Keating, is good. He's going to lean hard on the mental health angle because that's all he has. Our job is to systematically dismantle every claim in that affidavit." He pulled up a document on his screen. First, the weight loss claim. "Monica pulled your medical records from your annual physical 2 weeks ago. Your weight was 142 pounds. Your weight at your physical 6 months ago was 141 pounds. 1 pound difference, not 15. He just made that up?" He made it up. Second, the stopped eating claim. "We have your credit card records showing regular grocery purchases, restaurant charges, food delivery. You've been eating fine. What about the affair accusation?" I did go through his things. Once, after months of suspicious behavior. That's not paranoia. That's reasonable suspicion. And you were right, he was hiding something. Just not another woman. Gideon's eyes were sharp. Third, the therapeutic vacation lie. We have his ticket. 1 seat, 1 way. Departing at 6 a.m. without your knowledge. If this was a couple's trip, where's your ticket? He methodically went through each claim, each piece of supposed evidence, showing me how we'd counter it. The hardest part will be Dr. Whitmore's letter. She's a respected psychiatrist, and her recommendation carries weight. She never met me. Exactly. And that's what we're going to emphasize. She wrote a recommendation based entirely on information provided by Robert. She never examined you, never spoke to you, never reviewed your actual medical records. It's not a diagnosis, it's speculation based on a biased source. What about his family, his co-workers? None of them live with you. None of them see you daily. They're testifying to what Robert told them, not what they personally observed. We, on the other hand, have Dr. Reynolds's notes from weekly therapy sessions. We have your boss's statement that you've been performing excellently at work. We have Vera's statement that she saw no signs of mental illness. Monica chimed in from the background. We also have Detective Ramirez's preliminary findings. The Financial Crimes Unit found evidence of systematic asset liquidation and offshore transfers. That's not the behavior of a concerned husband. That's the behavior of someone fleeing prosecution. Gideon nodded. The judge is going to see 2 narratives. Robert's, a concerned husband whose mentally ill wife has made false accusations. Ours, a calculating criminal who built a false narrative to discredit his victim before she could expose his crimes. Our narrative has evidence. His has lies. What if the judge believes him anyway? Judge Northfield doesn't believe anyone. He follows evidence, and the evidence is overwhelmingly in your favor. Gideon leaned closer to the camera. Clara, I need you to do something for me. I need you to walk into that courtroom with your head high. I need you to look calm, collected, and completely sane. Because the best way to disprove claims of mental instability is to not look mentally unstable. I'm terrified. Good. Terrified means you're taking this seriously. But don't let Robert see that fear. Don't give him the satisfaction. The hours before the hearing crawled by like years. Sarah helped me choose my outfit, a navy dress, simple but professional, paired with minimal jewelry, nothing flashy, nothing that screamed unhinged wife. You look like a lawyer yourself, Sarah said, adjusting my collar. Composed, credible. I didn't feel composed. I felt like I might shatter if someone touched me wrong. My phone had been buzzing all day with messages from Robert's family. His mother had sent a particularly manipulative text. Clara, sweetheart, we know you're scared, but Robert loves you. This lawyer is just trying to profit from your confusion. Come home, and let us help you. I'd forwarded it to Gideon, without responding. At 12:30, we drove to the courthouse. Sarah drove, because my hands were shaking too badly to hold the steering wheel. What if I freeze up? I asked. What if the judge asks me something and I can't answer? Then you say, Your Honor, I'd like to consult with my attorney. That's always an acceptable answer. What if Robert looks at me and I start crying? Then you cry. Judges are human. They understand emotion. But Clara, here's the thing. Robert is counting on you to fall apart. He's built his entire defense around you being unstable. So the best revenge? Don't give him what he wants. We pulled into the courthouse parking lot at 1:15. 45 minutes early, Gideon had texted that he'd meet us inside. The courthouse was an imposing building, all marble and authority. Sarah squeezed my hand as we walked through the metal detectors. Gideon was waiting in the lobby, briefcase in hand, looking like he'd stepped out of a legal drama. Monica was with him, carrying what looked like 3 boxes of documents. Ready? He asked. No. Good answer. The day you walk into court feeling ready is the day you get blindsided. He gestured toward the elevator. Courtroom 4C, Judge Northfield's domain. We rode up in silence. My heart was hammering so hard I was sure everyone could hear it. The hallway outside courtroom 4C was empty except for one person, Robert. He was sitting on a bench, wearing a suit I'd helped him pick out for his cousin's wedding 2 years ago. When he saw me, he stood up, and the expression on his face was perfect concern, love, pain. Clara, he said, taking a step toward me. Gideon moved between us immediately. Mr. Vaughn, you're subject to a restraining order. No contact means no contact. I just want to talk to my wife. Your wife is represented by counsel. All communication goes through me. Robert's lawyer appeared then, Thomas Keating, tall and silver-haired, with the kind of face that inspired trust. He put a hand on Robert's shoulder, murmured something, and guided him away. But not before Robert looked at me one more time, his eyes pleading. It would have worked on me a week ago, maybe even 3 days ago. But now, all I could hear was his voice on that phone call. Let the banks chase her. Don't engage, Gideon said quietly. He's trying to rattle you. It's working. I know, but don't let him see that. At 1:55, a bailiff opened the courtroom doors. Emergency hearing. Vaughn v. Vaughn. Judge Northfield presiding. We filed in. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected, wood-paneled and serious. Judge Northfield was already at the bench, reading through documents with reading glasses perched on his nose. He looked up as we entered, his eyes sharp behind those glasses. Robert and his lawyer sat at one table. Gideon, Monica, and I sat at the other. Sarah had to stay in the gallery, but I could feel her presence behind me, solid and supportive. At exactly 2, Judge Northfield removed his glasses. This is an emergency hearing regarding the motion for asset freeze and restraining order filed by Clara Vaughn against Robert Vaughn. Mr. Morris, you're representing Mrs. Vaughn? Gideon stood. Yes, Your Honor. And Mr. Keating for Mr. Vaughn? Yes, Your Honor. I've reviewed both the initial motion and Mr. Vaughn's response. These are serious allegations on both sides. He looked at me, then at Robert. Before we begin, I want to make something very clear. I have zero tolerance for perjury in my courtroom. If I find that either party has lied in their sworn statements, there will be consequences. Understood? Yes, Your Honor, Gideon and Keating said in unison. Good. Mr. Morris, this is your motion. Present your case. Gideon stood, and I watched him transform. This wasn't the man who'd sat at Sarah's kitchen table at midnight. This was a predator in his element. Your Honor, this case is about calculated financial fraud and attempted abandonment. My client discovered that her husband has been systematically liquidating their marital assets, moving funds to offshore accounts, and planning to flee the country, leaving her with his debts and a manufactured narrative of mental instability designed to prevent her from seeking recourse. He laid out the evidence methodically. The phone call, the bank records showing transfers, the one-way ticket to the Cayman Islands, the forged signature on the loan documents. Keating objected multiple times, relevance, hearsay, speculation, but Northfield overruled most of them. The phone records, Gideon said, show that Mrs. Vaughn's call with Mr. Vaughn remained connected for 17 minutes after they said goodbye. During that time, she overheard Mr. Vaughn telling his brother that he was fleeing the country and that he'd been documenting Mrs. Vaughn's anxiety to make her look unstable if she tried to fight back. Northfield looked at Robert. Mr. Vaughn, did you have a conversation with your brother on the night of November 14th? Robert stood. Yes, Your Honor. But I'm not asking for explanations yet. Did the conversation involve discussion of leaving the country? Yes. But it wasn't. Did it involve discussion of your wife's mental health? Robert's jaw tightened. Yes. Sit down, Gideon continued, introducing the financial records. Monica had created a visual timeline showing every transfer, every withdrawal, every debt Robert had hidden. Over the past 6 months, Gideon said, Mr. Vaughn has transferred $68,000 from joint accounts to a personal account in the Cayman Islands. He took out a $30,000 loan using their house as collateral, forging Mrs. Vaughn's signature. He maxed out credit cards in both their names, all while telling his wife that their finances were fine and that she was being paranoid when she questioned him. Your Honor, Keating stood. My client has provided extensive documentation of Mrs. Vaughn's mental instability, her paranoid behavior, her accusations, her inability to— I've read your affidavit, Northfield interrupted. I've also read Mrs. Vaughn's medical records. We'll get to that. Mr. Morris, continue. Gideon introduced Dr. Reynolds's notes, highlighting the entry from 6 months ago. Mrs. Vaughn's therapist noted that Mr. Vaughn was encouraging increased therapy sessions even though Mrs. Vaughn felt she was managing well. This wasn't concern, this was manipulation, creating a paper trail of treatment that he could later use to claim she was unstable. Objection, Keating said. Speculation about my client's motives. Overruled. The timing is relevant. Finally, Gideon played his trump card. Detective Ramirez's preliminary findings. The Financial Crimes Unit has confirmed that Mr. Vaughn established an offshore account 6 months ago and has been systematically moving assets there. They've also confirmed that Mr. Vaughn purchased a one-way ticket to the Cayman Islands, departing at 6 a.m. on November 15th, Mere hours after this alleged therapeutic vacation was supposedly meant to begin. No return ticket. No ticket for Mrs. Vaughn. No hotel reservation for 2 people. Northfield looked at Robert again. Mr. Vaughn, were you planning to leave the country without your wife? Silence. Answer the question. I was going to surprise her. Bring her later, once I'd set things up. With a one-way ticket? How are you planning to bring her later? More silence. Mr. Everytng, your turn. Convince me your client isn't a flight risk who's been committing fraud. Everytng stood, and I had to admire his composure. His case was falling apart, but he showed no sign of panic. Your Honor, my client's actions have been mischaracterized. Mr. Vaughn has been managing significant financial stress, while also trying to care for a wife whose mental health has been deteriorating. He pulled out Robert's affidavit. These aren't lies or exaggerations. These are documented observations by a concerned spouse. Mrs. Vaughn has exhibited paranoid behavior, making baseless accusations about affairs, about hidden money, about plots against her. Except the accusations weren't baseless, Northfield said dryly. He was hiding money. Your Honor, moving assets within a marriage isn't illegal. Forging your spouse's signature is. Continue. Everytng pivoted. We have multiple witnesses who've observed Mrs. Vaughn's concerning behavior. Mr. Vaughn's family, his colleagues, even Dr. Whitmore, a respected psychiatrist. Gideon was on his feet immediately. Your Honor, may I address the Dr. Whitmore letter? Northfield nodded. Dr. Whitmore never examined Mrs. Vaughn, never spoke to her, never reviewed her actual medical records. She wrote a recommendation based entirely on information provided by Mr. Vaughn. This isn't a medical opinion, it's speculation based on a biased source. Is that accurate, Mr. Everytng? Dr. Whitmore never examined Mrs. Vaughn? Everytng hesitated. No, Your Honor, but based on Mr. Vaughn's description of symptoms. Based on the description of a man who, according to these financial records, had motive to make his wife look unstable. I'm giving that letter 0 weight. Northfield turned to me. Mrs. Vaughn, stand up. My heart stopped. I stood, my legs shaking. Look at me. I met his eyes. They were sharp, assessing, but not unkind. Do you believe you're mentally ill? No, Your Honor. Do you believe you need psychiatric treatment? No, Your Honor. Why did you leave your home on the night of November 14th? Because I heard my husband planning to abandon me and frame me for his crimes. I left because I was afraid of what he would do when he realized I knew the truth. Did he ever threaten you physically? No, Your Honor. But financial abuse is still abuse. Northfield nodded slowly. Sit down. He turned to Robert. Mr. Vaughn, stand up. Robert stood, his expression carefully arranged into respectful concern. Why did you forge your wife's signature on a loan document? I didn't. There's a handwriting analysis in the evidence packet. The signature doesn't match your wife's signature on any other legal document. It does, however, match your handwriting patterns. Why did you forge it? Robert's composure cracked slightly. We needed the money. I was trying to manage our finances. Without her knowledge, I didn't want to worry her. She was already stressed. Convenient. Why did you purchase a one-way ticket to the Cayman Islands? I was planning to relocate. For work. What work? You didn't give notice at your current job. I have a letter from your employer confirming you're still technically employed there. Robert's face went red. It was going to be a surprise. A surprise? You were going to surprise your wife by moving to another country and leaving her with $68,000 in debt. That's not. Sit down. Northfield shuffled through papers for a moment. The courtroom was dead silent. Here's what I'm seeing, he finally said. Mr. Vaughn has made serious allegations about his wife's mental health. Mrs. Vaughn has made serious allegations about Mr. Vaughn's financial fraud. One of these narratives is supported by evidence. The other is supported by character witnesses who who are testifying to what Mr. Vaughn told them, not what they personally observed. He looked at Keating. Your client claims Mrs. Vaughn has lost 15 pounds from not eating. Her medical records show her weight has been stable. Your client claims she's paranoid and delusional. Her therapist's notes show she's managing well. Your client claims the Cayman Islands trip was therapeutic. His ticket says otherwise. Keating tried to object, but Northfield held up a hand. I'm not finished. Mr. Vaughn's affidavit states that he was liquidating assets to pay for his wife's medical care. But the financial records show he moved money to an offshore account, not to medical providers. He claims he was documenting her behavior at her therapist's suggestion. Dr. Reynolds's notes contain no such suggestion. In fact, they contain a note expressing confusion about why Mr. Vaughn was pushing for increased sessions. He removed his glasses and looked directly at Robert. Mr. Vaughn, I've been on this bench for 30 years. I can smell perjury, and your affidavit reeks of it. Robert's lawyer stood quickly. Your Honor, that's... Sit down, Mr. Keating. I'm not saying your client committed perjury yet, but I am saying that his sworn statements are contradicted by every piece of objective evidence in this case. He put his glasses back on. Here's what's going to happen. I'm granting Mrs. Vaughn's motion for an emergency asset freeze. All accounts, joint and individual, are frozen effective immediately. Mr. Vaughn is prohibited from accessing, transferring, or liquidating any assets pending a full hearing. Relief flooded through me so intensely I thought I might pass out. Second, I'm granting a temporary restraining order. Mr. Vaughn is to stay at least 500 feet away from Mrs. Vaughn, except for court-ordered appearances. Violation will result in immediate arrest. Robert's face went from red to white. Third, I'm ordering Mr. Vaughn to surrender his passport to the court within 24 hours. He is not to leave the state, pending resolution of these matters. Your Honor, Keating stood. That's excessive. My client has no criminal record. He's not a flight risk. He has a one-way ticket to a country with no extradition treaty. Counsel, he's absolutely a flight risk. Northfield shuffled his papers. Fourth, I'm referring this case to the district attorney's office for criminal investigation. Wire fraud, identity theft, and possible money laundering are all on the table. I heard Robert make a strangled sound. Finally, regarding the psychiatric evaluation, Mr. Keating has requested for Mrs. Vaughn. I'm granting it, but I'm also ordering one for Mr. Vaughn. Both lawyers looked surprised. If we're questioning one party's mental fitness, we question both. Court-appointed evaluators. Results due in 2 weeks. Full custody hearing scheduled for December 1st. He banged his gavel. We're adjourned. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't process what had just happened. Gideon touched my shoulder. You won. I won? You won. The assets are frozen. He can't leave the state. He's under criminal investigation. Clara, you won. Across the courtroom, Robert was arguing with his lawyer in furious whispers. Keating kept shaking his head, looking defeated. Robert's eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw him without the mask. No concern, no love, just rage. We need to leave, Gideon said quietly. The restraining order is in effect, but he's angry. Let's not give him any opportunities. Sarah met me in the hallway, tears streaming down her face. You did it! Oh my God! Clara, you did it! I let her pull me into a hug, and finally, I let myself cry. Not tears of fear this time, but relief. What happens now? I asked Gideon as we walked toward the elevator. Now we build the criminal case. The DA will investigate the fraud, the forged signatures, the offshore accounts. Detective Ramirez will track every dollar. And in 2 weeks, you'll pass your psychiatric evaluation, while Robert scrambles to explain why a supposedly concerned husband was planning to flee the country. The elevator doors opened. As we stepped inside, I caught one last glimpse of Robert in the hallway, still arguing with his lawyer. He'd built such an elaborate trap, but he'd forgotten one thing. Traps can spring on the person who sets them. The doors closed, and I leaned against the wall, suddenly exhausted. "What you did took courage," Gideon said. "Most people in your position would have doubted themselves, would have believed the narrative their abuser built, but you trusted your instincts." I trusted that phone call. Same thing. Outside the courthouse, the afternoon sun was bright. Too bright for the darkness we'd just walked through. Sarah drove me back to her house. Gideon promised to send over next steps by tomorrow. That night, lying in Sarah's guest bed, I checked my phone one last time. Robert had tried to call 17 times. Each call went to voicemail. Each voicemail was a variation of the same thing. "Clara, please, we need to talk. I can explain. Don't do this to us." There was no us anymore. Maybe there never had been. I blocked his number, and finally, for the first time in a week, I slept.